Okay, Saxon 4 Math class, it's time for lesson 43, adding and subtracting decimal numbers, part 1. And the only way we've worked with decimals so far is with money, but today it's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to start off with some mental math. 80 take away 5, counting by 5s backwards, 75. Okay, now a new trick, 80 take away 25. I want you to take away the 20 first, so 80 take away 20, got that? Then subtract 5 more. Okay, what is the square root of 16? And that would be 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. And if you looked at that square, one of those measurements for the length or the width would be 4. Monica purchased a flashlight for $6.23 and batteries for $2.98. What was the total cost? You're going to treat this like it's $3 and then subtract 2 cents when you're done. So add $3. Subtract 2 cents, and you've got $9.21. The perimeter of a football field is 1,040 feet. Samir ran 2 laps along the edge of the field. How many feet did he run? So 2 laps all the way around. Okay, double this number and you've got it. 2,080 feet. How many cups is 1 pint? Well, you learned on the last lesson that there are 8 ounces in a cup, but we did not talk about cups and pints. So it is time for you guys to see what I like to call the gallon house. I learned this from one of my daughter's teachers, so thank you, Miss London. This is the gallon house. It's really nice and big, and think of it as a big house, okay? And in this gallon house, there are 4 big windows, 2 upstairs and 2 downstairs. And we're going to draw them to look like Q's, because what they really stand for are quarts. Here's how you spell quarts, or quart. Let's look at that. If I were to add ER, you would see what? You would see quarter, which reminds you, oh, there are 4 quarters in a whole dollar. Well, there are 4 quarts in a whole gallon, but we're not finished. And out from these windows, there are people looking out. P for people. Actually, it's P for pints, okay? And there are 2 pints in each quart. Okay, so I can ask you all kinds of questions now. We know there are 4 quarts in a gallon, but how many pints are in a gallon? 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 8 pints in 1 gallon. And we're still not finished. And these people, they have little eyes. We're going to make them look like C's for cups. So how many cups are in a gallon? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cups. Okay, we could even go so far as to figure ounces, because we know that 1 cup is 8 ounces, right? So 16 times 8, watch this. 8 times 6, that's 48. And 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So there are 128 ounces in a gallon. 8 ounces per cup. This is how you write the word ounces, but you abbreviate it OZ, period. So if you can draw the gallon house, my daughter's had to do this several times on tests that deal with measurement, liquid capacity, and she says it always helps her. So you might want to practice drawing the gallon house. So how many cups is 1 pint? Think of the P. How many little C's? 2 cups. What numbers would you use to estimate the sum, so we know we're adding, of $13.58 and $6.51? What would you round off to? I would do $13.50 and $6.50. Okay, and I know my 50 cents and 50 cents would give me $1, and 13 and 6 is 19, plus that 1 would be And they didn't do the final answer, but look, they used 1350 and 650 also. Okay, here we go. 7 times 8. You know that, 56. Now, when you do plus 9, pretend that it's plus 10. Okay, 56 plus 10, 66. Take away 1, 65. Now you've got 65 plus 35. So do the 60 and the 30, you've got 90, and the 5 and 5, and add 10 more, you've got 100. Okay, choose an appropriate problem-solving strategy to solve this problem. Counting by halves, we say 1/2, 1, 1 1/2, 2. It says write the sequence of numbers you say when you count by halves from 1/2 to 10. Place the numbers along a number line. Then use your drawing to find the number that is halfway between 2 and 5. So let's do some nice little number line first. And we can make tick marks, and we know that we're supposed to start at half. And our next one would be 1 1/2. I'm sorry, 1. And then 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 6, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, 8. Let me extend my line here. 8 1/2, 9, 9 1/2, 10. And they want us to find what is halfway between 2 and 5. So if we go backwards a whole inch here, we would be at the 4. If we go forward a whole inch here, we would be at 3. And what is right in between 3 1/2 is between 2 and 5 1/2. There's an equal distance from the midpoint to the 2 and the midpoint to the 5. Okay, example 1, $3.45 plus 75 cents. They just want to make sure that we are lining up our decimal points correctly when we're doing our money. 345 and 75, okay. And that was addition, wasn't it? Yes. Okay, so make sure you have your decimal points lined up. 5 plus 5, 10. 7 and 4 is 11 plus 1 is 12. Stop, drop, put your decimal point. $4.20. This one's tougher to line up. $5.35 minus $2. So make sure you write $2 like this, okay? 5 take away 0 is 5. 3 take away 0 is 3. And 5 take away 2 is 3. So really, if you look at that, that would have been very easy to do mentally. Since you only have dollars here, you could just take 5, take away 2, and oh, now you have $3 in the same amount of cents, $3.35. At the craft store, Maggie bought a pad of drawing paper for $3.75, charcoal for $4, and a clip for 15 cents. What was the total price of the items before tax? So we just have to add all these up, but notice they're written differently, and we have to write them with the same format, okay? $3.75, 4, and 15 cents. All right. So I had to write $4 as 4.00 and had to write 15 cents as 0.15. 5 and 5 is 10, 7, 8, 9. Stop, drop, decimal point. 7. Don't forget your dollar sign. $7.90. Here's where we make it to where we're dealing with decimals finally, and it's not money. Okay, so a couple of things I want to teach you first is how to properly read these decimals. So we've got 2/10 and 5/10. I'm going to go ahead and write this down. Okay. For example, we're going to learn how to do 2 spaces to the right of the decimal point. Before the decimal point, we have our whole numbers, okay? So in this case, it's 0. And we don't even have to say that. But if we did, let's have a different number. What if we had 2 point, and we'll start easy, 2.3. You would say, go ahead and say the whole number 2. Now where you see the decimal point, you get to say the word and. Okay? The space to the right of the decimal point, that is the tenths place. See that TH? The second space to the right of the decimal is the hundredths place. Notice the TH. All right. Sometimes you'll just see one space to the right of the decimal point. Other times you'll see more. Right now we're just going to learn 2 spaces to the right. So the way we would say this number is 2 and 3/10. Okay? But let's change it up. What if we had this number? You would say 2 and, now since there are no tenths, you don't even have to say them. You would just say 2 and 7/100. And you would automatically know that there was a 0 in the tenths spot if you don't say anything. Okay? Let's look at something else. Let's compare now. What if we had this number? We would read it 2 and 7/10. But my question to you is, which one of these is larger? Now I could go ahead and draw a spot for hundredths, but since nothing is in it, it stands for 0. And I want you to listen to what we're saying. Up here, we're saying 2 and 7/100. Well, that would also look like this now, wouldn't it? And this one would look like 2 and 70/100. Okay, hundredths. So which of these 2 numbers is larger? It's the 70/100, isn't it? 2 and 70/100 is certainly bigger than 2 and 7/100, because if you were thinking pennies, this is talking about 7 pennies out of 100, and this would be talking about 70 pennies out of 100. So do you see how this one would be larger? Okay, now that you have that basic understanding that the decimal point you say and what's in front of it is your big whole number, and what comes after it is tenths and hundredths. And let me show you, let's do one more comparison before we go on. What if, let's do a comparison for just tenths now. Well, let me show you what those fractions would look like. Let's do some totally different numbers. And how about if we have 0 here? Okay, we would say 0. You could say 0. You don't even have to say this if there's nothing there. You could just say plain old 4/10. And it could also look like this. Those are the same. And this one would be 1 and 6/10, wouldn't it? Okay. So I just want you to understand that decimals are really just another way to write fractions. Okay? So let's go ahead and do our first addition problem. We've got 2 plus 5, and that's 7. Stop, drop, put your decimal point. In this case, you know how I always tell you if it's 0, you don't have to write it. But in this case, since we're dealing with the decimals, and also when we're dealing with money, it's correct to go ahead and put that 0 in the front. But you would read this as just 7/10. Okay? You do not have to say 0 and 7/10. Okay, let's look at the next one. And this is a nice example. This is really what it means. Here's your 2/10. They took a square, divided it into 10 equal sections, and we're talking about 2 of them, 2/10. And on this one, we were talking about 5/10. Okay? And we got 7/10 added up. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder. Okay. 3.47. And it was subtraction, wasn't it? Okay. So let's read this first. And remember, this is tenths, this is hundredths. So we would say 3 and 47 hundredths. Okay? So you can go ahead and say the number together, and then whatever is in the last spot, that's what you would say. You don't have to say 3 and 4/10 7/100ths. You just go ahead and say 47 and then hundredths. So this one, how would you say it? 3 and 41 hundredths, because it goes all the way out to the hundredths place. Okay? 7 minus 1, 4 minus 4. Stop, drop, decimal point, 3 minus 3. So let's think about how we would read this answer. Do we have to say 0 and? No. We can just say 6 hundredths. Okay? Now let's do a quick comparison. Which do you think is bigger? 6 hundredths, remember that would look like this, or 6/10? And I told you, if we wanted both to have 2 spaces to the right, if there's nothing there, it means 0. So we could also say this as 60 hundredths, and it makes it a little bit easier to compare when you look at those. So which one's larger? This one. This is talking about 6 pennies out of 100. This is talking about 60 pennies out of 100. One gallon of milk is about 3.78 liters, or 3 and 78 hundredths liters. 2 gallons of milk is about how many liters? So we would just add this twice. And that's what they'll show you in just a minute, but I think you're ready to just multiply. 3 and 78 hundredths times 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 7 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And now the reason I didn't do stop, drop into your decimal point is because sometimes we have a decimal point down here also. Okay, in this one we didn't. But you look, how many spaces to the right of the decimal point did I have in my entire problem? There were 2. So you also have to put your decimal point so that there are 2 spaces to the right in your answer. So this final answer is 7 and 56 hundredths liters. You can do a capital L. Find each sum or difference. Okay, $6.32 plus $5. This is an easy one. If you wrote it out, you would put 5.00. But let's just add the dollars. 6 and 5. The cents are the same. Okay, let's look at B. $3.25 minus $1.75. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one because there would be borrowing involved, and it's harder to do mental math when you do have to borrow. So $3.25 minus $1.75. 5 minus 5 is 0. 2 minus 7, we need to borrow. 12 minus 7 is 5. Stop, drop, decimal point. 2 minus 1 is 1. And you are left with $1.50. 46 cents plus 64 cents. And the reason I went ahead and wrote it with the dollar sign is because I knew automatically that this was going to be more than $1, so I might as well write it like this now. 6 and 4, we know that's a combination of 10. 6 and 4, another 10 plus 1 is 11. Stop, drop, decimal point, and bring down the 1. So we always do stop, drop, decimal point if it's subtraction or addition. If you are multiplying, you can wait until the end. Okay, 98 cents minus 89 cents. And this one, the answer is going to be less than $1, so we could have just kept it with cents, but this is always correct. You can never go wrong doing it this way. Okay, 8 minus 9, you can't do it, so let's borrow. Now we have 18 minus 9 is 9. 8 minus 8 is 0. Bring down the 0 here. And we have 9 cents as our answer. $1.46 plus 87 cents. 6 plus 7 is 13. 8 and 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. Stop, drop, decimal point, $2.33. 76 cents minus a nickel. We can do that one in our head, you guys. 76 minus a nickel is 71 cents. Now, 5 and 6/10 plus 5 and 6/10. 6 plus 6 is 12. Stop, drop, decimal point. 5 and 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. And the final answer is 11 and 2/10. And you need to be able to say this correctly because eventually they'll be having us to spell out the words for that. So to say 11.2 would not be entirely correct. We would have to say 11 and 2/10 and spell it all correctly. So you might as well get ready for it. 2 and 75/100 minus 1, and look at this, I could say 7/10 or 70/100. It's actually better. It's actually simpler to say 1 and 7/10, okay? This just helps with comparison and subtraction. So let's go ahead and write it. Because if the problem had originally said this, this is what your problem would look like. And if that happens to you in the future, go ahead and put in the 0 for the placeholder so that you can do the problem, okay? 5 minus 0, 5. 7 minus 7, 0. 2 minus 1, 1. Now, final answer for this one would be red, 1 and 5/100 because it's in the hundredths place, remember, with a TH. Okay, 50/100, that's this one, plus 75/100. So if you put all that together, if you're thinking of quarters, you know you would have $1.25, but this is technically not quarters. So let's see how we would write that. 5 and 0 is 5. 5 and 7 is 12. And the proper way to read this would be, just say it with me or think it with me, 1 and 25/100. Now 75/100 minus 5/10. If you look at it and think quarters, you know it's going to be 0.25. And how would we say that? 0 and 25/100. Okay, you're ready to go back and check 42. So hit pause as you check 1 through 5. Hit pause as you check 6 through 21. Hit pause as you check 22 through 29. And hit pause as you check 30 and the early finisher if you did that. And you're finished.